going?
Yeah.
Okay, so you will always need to start by wedging your clay. So how you wedge is you try to make it almost like a T shape, and then you want to push inward with your hands and down. It's like a natural thing to want to spread your clay out, but you want to push inward and down. And a lot of people want to muscle it and just like shove it all the way down to the ground. All that's doing is making it fold, creating air bubbles. Air bubbles make your clay shatter when it's in the kiln. So the goal of this is to wedge out all the air bubbles. So you don't want to make wrinkles or fold your clay. You want to just keep pushing out all the air bubbles, keeping it airtight. Once you feel like your clay is wedged, you can start any kind of hand building techniques. So like first one over there is pinch. I don't want to pinch with that much clay. This clay that I'm not working with, I want to keep my bag nearby so that I can bag it up. This doesn't need to be drying out for no reason. So then I start a pinch pot by patting the ball into a nice sphere with my hands. This also wedges your clay. And this is one of those things where it's easier than it looks. A lot of clay is easier than it looks. What do you mean?
Does it stick into your hand, or is it?
Not when it's plastic. But when it's like in between slip and plastic, like this clay, will stick to your hands. You gotta wedge that until it's not sticky. But this clay was from the brush block so that I could teach you easier. Yeah, it is a pain and it feels like you're getting nowhere. All right, so then once I've got a nice smooth sphere, I can take my finger and I can poke a hole about this far from the bottom. And then I can start to wiggle my finger and create a little cave on the bottom. And then I'm using, so it doesn't seem like a pinch, but the pinch is between my palm and my finger that's inside of the ball. And then I'm just pushing and pinching while I'm also spinning it. Eventually, there's a cave big enough that I could put my thumb and then start pinching between my fingers and my thumb like that. I go in a circle and create the same thickness so that obviously if I just keep pinching here, it's going to get really thin here and nothing's happening all around the clay. When you're working with clay, you have to support the whole vessel while you're working with it. I want to keep it thick on top. It'll start to look like a little mushroom. If it looks like a mushroom, then you're doing a good job. If it starts to get really thin up here, a lot of people just kind of abandon the bottom and it gets really thick on the bottom. If your clay is thicker than like an inch, at any point, it'll probably snap off and shatter. So, even thickness, no air bubbles. You'll know if you wedged your clay well, if you're doing this and you don't feel any air bubbles. You can make it longer, just pinch it the direction you want it to go in. The more you go back and forth, the angrier the clay gets and the more tired it gets, and then it starts to crack and you get stuff like that. Okay, so just be careful not to do that. Now I created a big air bubble, so I need to wedge it, so that's pinching a pot. Sometimes you can pinch two pots and then score and slip them together if you want to make like an animal or something like that. I would say pinch pot is good for making an animal. Then there is rolling a slab. What is she eating? Ruru. Okay. Rue, come here. Why are you eating cardboard? Quit that.
You're like a little kid.
She's looking at me like, why?
He has look on her face.
So that little box on my desk that I showed you yesterday for the crystal glaze was made by rolling slabs and then letting those slabs get leather hard and then scoring and slipping them together just like I had like wood. Did yours fall apart?
Yeah.
So you'll start by tossing it down, flipping it, every time you toss it. This isn't a contest to see how hard you can slap it onto the table.
Dang.
Remember, clay needs to be worked slowly. The faster you work it, the more you force it, the angrier the clay will get. It doesn't like to be forced. It likes to just slowly work its way there. If your clay is ever cracking, you're probably working it too fast. So then I always start by getting a nice pancake shape, and then you can get 2 rulers.
That is one messed up pancake.
Yes.
It's like a football. Skateboard.
Skateboard.
Yeah.
Skateboard. Pancakes
Skateboard
are
without wheels.
round, not oval.
Skateboard pancake.
It's oval. There's something wrong.
It is old.
Now she's got a ruler.
These have to be the same thickness, otherwise it's pointless.
Okay.
You also have to have it, I like to make my slabs long because the rulers or the rollers aren't that wide. So if my slab was like the other way and I put them like this, those rulers aren't doing anything. Does that make sense? So I need to put them like this so that my roller can use those as support. Again, this isn't a point where you just force it down and do one roll. You just work it. Nice and slow. You don't want to roll it too much without flipping it. It'll get stuck to the cloth. It's important to do this on a cloth, not on the table, because it will tear and get stuck to the table. But then there's a nice slab. So then I can cut this, let it sit out in between some magazine papers, put it in the bag, let a little bit of air get in so that it can get leather hard, and then I can assemble those pieces however I want. So you could assemble stuff that way. And then the last one, just take a piece of that. Actually, I'm gonna use my fresher clay to do a coil. This is one of my favorite hand building techniques just because you can do almost anything with it. I made a cookie jar, an owl cookie jar, out of making coils once. So you start by rolling it, and it really is something. This is one of the #1 things that looks easier than it is.
Play-Doh.
Yeah. You hear that flat tire sound?
Yeah.
That means I'm not having even pressure. But then if I can even it out, it starts to get smoother. If the coil gets too long, you can just break it. I always lock my thumbs together so that my hands stay together when I roll it, because I don't want one to be going crazy like that and then it breaks. I also like to spread my fingers as I do it. That makes it kind of roll into a coil nicer. You want your coil to be about a 1/2 inch thick. Then you can start the bottom of your pot by just rolling it up.
That's crazy.
So then there's the base of my pot, or mug,
Reminds me of a snake.
or cup, whatever you want to do. Yeah, it's exactly like a snake. Then I can start building up.
It was fun to make that one thing that I did with coils.
These are that's why I like coils. So if I want it to be wider, I put my coil on the outside. So then I could work this way, I could go back in, I could do whatever I wanted to. If I want it to be thinner, I just go on the inside. If I wanted to put designs on the side of my coil pot, I could roll this up and then I could lay this way. I could put a bunch of those around, or I could do zigzags. Could build that way. See how the more I work my clay, it starts to dry out, gets cracked. Same with these; those are just sitting there getting dry for no reason. Then I was going to show you one more thing. Oh yeah. About every 3 layers of coil that you have, you need to smooth either the inside or the outside. Remember what I said about these are sticking now. The only thing holding that together is moisture. So when the moisture is gone, I could pick this up and it would literally just fall apart. So you have to take your finger And I'm working really rough with this clay because I'm just trying to go fast for you. But you have to smooth either the inside or the outside. So if you have a wide bowl and your designs are going to be viewed from this side, you probably want to view the or smooth in the outside, right? But if your pot is tall, you want to smooth the inside so that the designs are on the outside. Or you can smooth both. If you just want it to be kind of like a pinch pot, you could do that. Cool?
Yeah.
Okay.